All right, welcome listeners, or maybe just listener, to the Touchline podcast. I'm Rich,
And I'm Brett.
and you are lucky enough to be tuned in to episode 13, or the Olmez Garcia podcast, as he is number 13 for RSL.
Gomez.
Today, the Gomez.
Gomez.
In this episode, we'll talk about last week's victory over Toronto. And then we will look ahead to this coming Sunday's clash on Easter against the Earthquakes. We'll also touch on a little bit of the academy and other goings on around the league. And I hope you guys enjoy what we have to say. So, Sunday, Toronto.
Awesome.
It was a lovely late afternoon soccer game. Both teams were missing quite a few starters. I thought, both teams struggled quite a bit at different times during the game. But overall, it was fairly entertaining, I thought.
Yes, sir. This was one of those games that, because of international duty, it's going to test your depth. And I think it showed, especially for Toronto, if you take Josie and Bradley out of that equation, I mean, they're a deadly team because of Giovinco. But other than that, that team kind of, if he wasn't making things work, RSL had something to, they were shutting down their attacks. It had to all go through Giovinco. So it showed you the quality, like how big of a drop off in talent they have.
Yeah, they were putting it in a bind with all the different people that they were missing. Plus, they had the Moro suspension and injuries and all sorts of stuff. And we were down a couple of starters, but they had other issues compounded on top of just their monopoly money designated players, right?
Yep.
So, I thought in the first half, it took us a little bit of time to get into the game, but then for a lot of the first half, I thought, we controlled the game pretty well. We got a goal out of it. We talked, I guess, about Luke Mulholland's goal. I thought on that sequence, I thought Mansally, his cross into the box before the goal
Mm-hmm.
was a pretty good effort. If he could have kept it down a little bit more, the goalie might not have been able to get out and punch that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw or if you noticed on the replay or when that happened, Sandoval take the goalie out and then kind of take him out again as the goalie tried to get back up. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Luke looked great all game from what I could see out of him. I mean, he was playing exactly how a a guy that's stepping in for Gil you'd want him to play. And I think
yeah.
I know there's a lot of talk going around now in the fan base that people are wondering if Luke's better off in that position than a uh, a Gil, and maybe if Gil should go back to the bench. So, what's your thoughts on that?
I still think I prefer Gill on the field over Mulholland, but I think if you were going to replace somebody, I think you could put Gill and Mulholland on the field, and maybe replace Garcia, for example. I think that's probably unless you're rotating people due to just for squad rotation. I think you
Yeah,
still probably start Gill in front of Mulholland, at least for the time being.
yeah,
I do like how Mulholland does seem to be more kind of box to box, and he'll get back defensively a lot more than Gill does. And that really crushed us a couple times against Philly, that Gill wasn't tracking back like he needed to.
yeah. I noticed that Gil he's still kind of playing out of position. I know the going to this 4-3-3 was more or less to suit Luis because that diamond. I mean, he could play in the diamond, but the one spot that he needed to play inside that diamond was the spot that Morales is playing. He needed to be that playmaker. Now in this 4-3-3, he's got that more availability to be that playmaker. But I think until Morales is either gone from the team or sitting, and in a game that we don't really need him, that's when you're actually going to see the worth of Gil.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like, I think about a lot in other sports as well. It's like, basketball, or for example, somebody who, comes in, thinks that they always need to be the shooter, but they got a better shooter on their team. So, why are they jacking up all these shots? So, I mean, Gil has a playmate. We have a playmaker on the team that's Javi, who is better than Gil.
Yep.
And so Gil, if he wants to get on the field, he's got to do other stuff. If his whole job, or if his whole perspective, and I'm not saying that it is, but if he only wants to do that role, then that's going to stunt his growth and his, playing time, because if he really develops more of a two-way player, get back defensively, can be more like Ned, right? Ned used to be a number 10.
Yep.
And I wouldn't say that he's that now.
Yeah, especially in that style of offense he's playing over in New York.
Right. He learned when he was here. I mean, he could play Beckerman's spot. He could play either side of the diamond. I mean, he could have slotted in for Javi if we needed him. Grabavoy, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, Grabavoy's a lot older than Gil, obviously, but I think Gil needs to kind of take that perspective, don't you think?
Yeah, Gil needs to have that maturity to realize that, his worth and his value is going to go up as long as he is that he needs to be a guy that can, play up top or play in the midfield, or, I mean, worst case scenario, he'll never do it, but understand that if need be, he's got to step back and play a defensive role. If one of our defenders get a red card or something, he might have to step back there and play that position. And so the more that a guy can prove that he's valuable to the team and that he can play multiple positions, and I know that's what Jason Kreis loved about his players that he had. I mean, he turned around and took various players that would walk in here that were, Plata was a midfielder, and he played Plata, started training him when he came in to be more of a striker, and he moved different guys around, and so and they were able to get more value out of guys knowing that they had 5 or 6 different positions they can go play. And I think that's the one thing he needs to learn, is that he needs to become more available to playing all over the pitch, kind of like Luke does, playing box to box, and if wherever he needs to be, he's there.
Yeah, I mean, Gil definitely has skill and talent and potential. We've been talking about that same skill and talent potential for 5 years now, I guess, 6 years, and just hope one of these years that it finally will click in and he can start dominating, or being a force in the game that we know that he can be, instead of a force occasionally.
Yeah.
So
the quicker he understands that playing in the midfield is playing everywhere in the midfield, and instead of just being that playmaker, we'll see big things out of him.
Yeah, and I guess back to the original question. So, I think Luke's been playing great coming off the bench. I still don't think that that Gil should lose his spot. I mean, Gil was the captain of the U23 team, just barely, for their 2 games against Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Denmark. So, I definitely think we need to keep Gil in that spot, at least for now, and then kind of see how it goes. But and it's great to have a sub off the bench who can make an impact, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. I know that I like Luke coming off the bench because he's, late in games, if we need somebody to go in there and control the midfield and dictate, not so much dictate offensively like Morales does, but go in there and dictate the midfield, contain possession and stuff like that, Luke's a great guy to have in there with Beckerman, because they both know how to contain possession and keep the ball on their side and keep it between them. Whereas Gil, he more or less takes that risk. So earlier on, I'd rather have him taking risks than late in games when, if we're up or tied and need to get those points, that Luke can come in and play the possession.
Yeah, I mean, I think of Luke more like, a Will Johnson type, where when he comes in as a sub, he seems to, you know, provide a lot of energy and, get all over the place. So, he does fill that, super sub kind of high energy guy coming off the bench.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that was one of those that we went out and found, and Luke's paying off,
Yeah, for
as is,
sure.
99% of the guys we go find.
Yeah, yeah. So, I guess speaking of guys that we went and found, Jaime, how did you feel like he played that game?
You know, I know a lot of people are getting worried that he hasn't scored any goals, and but I still love the way he looks. It's his play away from the ball. Um, you can tell that he's not a very selfish player, and I think that he fits into the team like that. I know I'd like to see more goals. I'd like to see his first one and stuff like that, but right now I'm not worried about stuff like that. I think he's still trying to get used to our style. I mean, I know he went through an off season, but you know, he's he's not he's given 100% and he's looking good doing it.
Yeah, and, I'm a fan of Jaime. I think he plays, the quote unquote right way. He is good combining with, his teammates. He's put himself in lots of good spots and has been, unlucky a couple times with getting a goal. He had one on Sunday that got called back for offside where he was, you know, just a hair offside on the goal. He had a header, was it against Toronto, that went into the side netting.
Yep.
Um, I mean, it was a tight angle, but he's putting himself in good spots. I'm not concerned too much that he's not getting goals. I mean, I don't. I mean, let's compare him to Robbie Finley just for a minute. I mean, I thought Finley was a good striker for us. He
Mm-hmm.
scored a lot of great goals. His main thing was just speed, right? Everyone always complained about his first touch and his ability to combine and stuff. Jaime's not a fast guy, but he's really good at combining.
Yep.
And I think we'll find, he's obviously a different player than Finley, but eventually I think he'll, settle in. So.
Yeah, and I think people are jumping real quick on Jaime, but I don't think a lot of people realize he's only played in 9 games for us. It's not like he's been here for ever like Robbie Finley, who's had, you know, 7 goals in 2 years. And so, I mean, he hasn't even played a full 10 games. I like the way he looks. I mean, he's getting close, and you can tell. I mean, you can tell in some games when guys are or a team's hot that a goal's coming from them. You can tell with him that a goal is coming. It's just you just got to wait on it.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought one of these next couple of games he would have got one. I guess the news came out today he'll be sidelined for probably a couple games.
Mm-hmm.
He got a fracture in his tibia, right? I think that's what they said, right? Tibia.
Sounds about right.
His lower leg, anywho. It's probably on that challenge that happened. I would guess the one at midfield. A guy came sliding in on him, and he tried to go through the tackle. They knocked shins. I'm assuming that's when it happened. They said it is
Yeah.
not in a really critical location, not weight bearing, so should heal pretty quick. But I would guess he'd be out for 2 games at least.
Yeah, and from the sounds of it, it's more of a bone bruise than anything like that. And they say that they expect him out only for this game this Sunday. But looking ahead after this game against San Jose, we travel to play Kansas City, and knowing how physical Kansas City is, I wonder if we're better off just letting him still rest and heal that up instead of putting him into a very physical game because Sporting Kansas City loves to play physical. They're one of the few teams just like us that will play physical with you.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, they don't have Colin anymore, so they won't try and break your leg necessarily.
Yeah, Colin's a special player. He's one of the few that can actually, switch teams, and I instantly hate that team.
It's a rare quality in a player.
Yeah.
Oh man. So that's pretty crappy for Jaime. I mean, he's gonna have to sit on the shelf for at least a week or two. Um, I guess let's talk about the goal really quick. I guess both goals. Toronto's. Well, do you want to talk about the sequence before Toronto's goal?
Um, you know, Toronto's goal, the only thing that bothered me about it, I mean, I've watched about 5 or 6 times, and it's one of those, it seems like a lot of lucky bounces, and, guys are actually in great positions. Um, I mean, even Beckerman. I mean, the first time I watched it, it kind of looked like Beckerman was giving up on it until I went back and rewatched it and saw how the angle he was at and how he kind of had to lay off on it. And I I put more of that goal on the fact of Antonella. You can tell he was very hesitant on if do I need to rush out, do I need to stay back, and that kind of is what burned him. But I think the defense played well. It was just a lot of lucky bounces that it got around everybody like that.
Yeah, I think the defense did get caught a little bit flat-footed. I mean, he's a fast dude, and you get him in with a give and go, and his touch was great on that goal. Taking it away from the defenders, and then even the actual goal. Where he just tapped it past Antonella instead of trying to crush it.
Hmm.
Where I think the likelihood of him then missing or hitting it into Antonella was a lot higher, rather than just you know
Yeah.
giving it a gentle nudge. So, I mean, it was a good goal by them. I think we probably could have done a little better myself, but
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean with the Toronto goal, the nice thing, like the one thing I loved about it, is RSL came back and like immediately responded. They didn't
yeah,
like put their head down. It wasn't like some of these games in the past where you watch RSL collapse in the end. It was like a whole different mentality, a whole different team out there playing.
yeah. I mean, I do think I felt like in the second half, I thought Toronto bossed us around a lot, and I was pretty disappointed just based on the fact that they were such a makeshift group, kind of like when we played Portland the first game, where they had so many, of their reserve players. I felt like we should do a lot better. And
Hmm.
I thought they really came out in the second half and played really well. I kind of felt like a goal was probably coming from them.
Yeah.
They missed on a few, uh, crosses or through balls that, you know, an inch or two one way or the other, and those would have been goals too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
credit to Toronto for sticking with it.
Yeah, and especially when Giovinco got involved in their offense and started taking those long range shots, Antonelli looked very impressive, very world class. Coming out and being big and getting in front of everything. It was great to see him. I mean, you don't want to be the guy to follow the legend or step in for a legend, but he did exactly that and played really well. Other than that one mess up that I saw.
Yeah, that one-on-one that he had against Giovinco where he stoned him, man, that was pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
Antonella stepped up big.
Yes. And if I might be wrong, but isn't the whole reason that Toronto place started up was the Olmes taking the shot and not laying it off for Sandoval?
Yeah, that's what I was referring to about the play before the goal.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
guess I guess to preface that, Olmes looked from the start of the game like he was determined to shoot the ball for whatever reason. I mean, he had a bunch of shots at the beginning of the game from crazy angles, or with outside the box or from the side or different things, and he was. It definitely seemed like as soon as he got the ball, he was looking to just crack it. And I don't know why that was. If he had a special celebration planned he really wanted to do,
Yeah.
or what the deal was, but he definitely seemed determined to shoot at the beginning of the game. And then we had that breakaway, two on 2-on-1, pretty much, right?
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of people are really mad at Olmes for not passing. I'll give my take first, and then you can vent your anger at Olmes, I guess.
Yeah.
But I did think, as they were going down the field, Olmes had, a lot of time to cross it to Sandoval for, center it, square it.
Hmm.
Um, the earlier he did it, the less it would have benefited Sandoval, other than he would have been in the center of the field, right? And it just would have been a one-on-one. At the point when Olmes actually shot it, I didn't feel like he actually had an angle to cross it to Sandoval. Like the defender had kind of caught up a little bit.
Hmm.
I don't know if you felt that way, but I felt like by the time he shot it, it was too late. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think I don't have a problem with him not passing it because I know it's like every striker's dream. You want to get in that one-on-one position against a uh, a goalkeeper, and I think what his thinking was probably along the lines of, if I take this shot and it deflects, Sandoval might have that opportunity to get the rebound, and it'd look great like that. Or I'm wondering if maybe he was wondering if Sandoval was offside somehow or something. And so my huge issue with it is what happens after he takes the shot. Because
Mm,
after he takes the shot, it seems like Sandoval and Olmes sit there and like not shout, but they're like yelling back and forth at each other, like, why didn't you lay it off like that? And next thing you know, the ball's cleared down the field. And
right.
so they're not getting back on defense. That's my huge big thing with it, is not the fact that it wasn't passed off. It just seemed like they both let the game get bigger than themselves and didn't get back on defense, which led to a goal.
Yeah. And we say that, and they're professionals, whatever. But I mean, if it were me, I'd probably have the exact same response on both sides. Like if I was Sandoval, I'd be like, dude, I'm standing right here. And if I was Garcia, I'd be like, well, I'm a striker. I want to shoot it.
Yeah,
Get off my back.
and I'm wondering because I know last season a lot, especially on Twitter, you'd hear a lot of fans getting after Garcia hasn't scored in this many games. Then the next game, he hasn't scored in this many games. Then the next game, he hasn't scored in this many games. And I'm wondering if all that talk was kind of getting to him, and he was trying to get ahead of it this year.
Mm. Maybe too, he felt like he had a burden to score with everybody missing, with Sabo being missing and stuff. Maybe he felt like he needed to step up, so he's trying to force it.
Maybe prove his worth.
Yeah, maybe. But no, I do agree, and I think I even heard in an interview with Kassar, he had mentioned that about he wasn't as disappointed with Garcia's shot selection. He was disappointed with how the team's shape after the shot.
Yeah.
So they got down the other end in a hurry, and then we were in trouble.
Hmm.
So I guess to step back one more frame from that sequence, Toronto had that goal that got called off. That was pretty bogus. I think everyone agrees.
Yeah.
The ref said it was because of persistent holding. It looked to me like Schuler either tripped or ran into, one of Beltran or one of his teammates, whoever was standing there.
Yeah.
That Hagelin didn't have anything to do with it, so that was pretty unfortunate. I don't know if Toronto scores there. I don't know if they bring Jackson in the first place. So.
Probably not.
I don't know. It's hard.
I guess. I mean, when I played soccer, this was only high school, so the mentality might be different inside a pro level, but it was always get the win on at home, get the tie on the road. And so Jackson was more of a offensive sub. And so if it was tied or if they were up, probably not.
Yeah. So, maybe then that other goal doesn't happen, and maybe we don't score our other goal. It's hard to say.
Maybe we don't yell at Ole Miss.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, so then we came right back down pretty much and score our second goal. The ball from Javi was great. The hold up from Sandoval right before that, he held off a bunch of guys and then passed it to Javi. What I liked the most about that sequence, though, was after Sandoval passed it off to Javi, he did like kind of a curl route down the center of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
and totally occupied the center back that was guarding Jordan Allen, so that Jordan was all by himself for the header.
Yeah.
So I thought Sandoval, I mean, he wasn't spectacular, but I thought he had a solid game of filling in for Sabo, and did what he needed to do, mix it up and hold the ball.
Yeah, he definitely made the most of a situation. I mean, he hasn't gotten a whole lot of time this year, and so, getting the start, he made the most out of it. And, I think it's great to see him do something like that.
Yeah.
Going back to the goal, though, I mean, it was nice to hear from Jordan Allen after the game when he said that this entire team's got a mentality that as long as we put ourselves in the right position to on those kicks from Javi like that, as long as we help out each other. I mean, I'm not word for word, but pretty much what he's saying is, as long as we all move around and we all help out each other, Javi's going to find the right guy to send it to.
Right.
And so, Sandoval he did the right thing. I mean, he moved around, he got guys doubting who they were supposed to be with, and just left Jordan all by himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that worked out perfect. Jordan Allen finished it like he should have, and we get the win. So sorry, Portland, or sorry, Toronto.
I wish it was Portland.
I know.
Then we'd have another win this year.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about Toronto?
Not that I can think of. Just glad it's over.
Yeah.
Won't have to see those guys for the rest of the year, if I remember right.
Yep, that's all, just the once.
Yes.
So San Jose playing again on Sunday, again on national TV. That's 2 Sunday games in a row and 2 national TV games in a row. It's got to be a record. This one's on the road though.
Be famous.
It's a 3 o'clock kick, I believe. So
it's 8 o'clock. Oh
what?
wait, I was looking at a different game. Yeah, 3.
3. So it's day game in California. Should be fun at the new stadium, Avaya.
I hope whatever voodoo magic that San Jose had for our series stayed at that old stadium. We've been through some crazy games against San Jose in the past.
We had the downpour rain. We had the 2 red card game. We had didn't they come back from a couple goals down?
Yeah, when we were up 2-0, and next thing you know, we're leaving 3-3.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had our share of draws and wins there too, but it seems like it's always crazy.
Yeah, that's it's a weird series. I mean, generally, if you look at it, like in the past, you could look at it and be like, we're playing Chivas. I mean, no disrespect to Chivas, but when we were playing Chivas, I expected a point at least if we were going there.
Yeah.
And if we didn't get a point, all right, you upset us. San Jose, they could have put Chivas' roster on the field during some of those games, and we'd still walk away with no points and wondering what exactly happened. I mean, this is one of the weirdest series we've ever been a part of, ranking up there probably with the Texas series where it took us forever to win.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It's always been pretty crazy. This year, their team's pretty much the same as last year. They added, a couple new players, a new DP. I guess he's changed his name, so it's just going to be Innocent on the back of his jersey now.
I might actually buy a San Jose jersey just to have Innocent.
Innocent. He'll never get a card because he's innocent.
That was one of my favorite things to do when I was younger watching soccer game was find the dude with the weirdest name and then ask for his jersey. I remember watching a World Cup and Japan had a guy back of his shirt said Honda. I wanted Honda.
Mm-hmm. I remember him. I think he had bleached hair.
Yeah. So Innocent. That is awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. They lost their last game. They started out with 2 wins. Then they lost in New England against the Revolution 2-1 last week. Wando scored from the PK spot to get their goal. So we have 3 goals this season so far.
Wando?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe he does.
Three
I
goals
believe they've
already.
scored 6 on the year, and he's accounted for 3.
Yeah. So always, as is the case with San Jose, you play where's Wando all game.
Hmm.
Beltran had a funny comment about Wando. I thought I was reading. He said when they were in the national camp together, he said something to the effect of, it might be surprising, but Wando actually has skill.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the way it was kind of phrased was pretty funny that, he's not just a poacher, but he can actually play soccer too. So,
Yeah, I've always liked Wando's game. Like, he's I've never had a problem with him, but especially when he hits that national team stage, everybody just hates on that guy.
yeah, I mean, I don't. Wando's one of those guys. I hate him just because he just pops up, and you're like, how did why are you always standing right where the ball is?
Yeah, he's like quiet until like the 89th minute, and then all of a sudden he's like buries one. Like you never see him at all. I mean, he's like he's that perfect soccer assassin.
Yeah, yeah. Um, they also got Marvell Wynn this season. Um, he's on the Rapids last season, right? I think. Or
So,
anyway, he used to be on the Rapids. Anyway, but it sounds like he got a hamstring injury last game, so he's pretty questionable. So he might not be there for them this game. So that takes away some of their speed, probably. Marvell Wynn is similar to Olave in foot speed.
yeah, but he doesn't have that. He's not as tall.
No, and he's not as physical. I kind of wonder sometimes if he might be a little faster than Olave, actually, but
Hmm.
I don't know. Their defense, they have Victor Bernardez, and I don't know, their whole defensive line, Goodson, they're all just yellow cards waiting to happen. So
Yeah.
Bernardez is good for a couple times a year, pretending he's Javi and doing something stupid with the ball since he's a center back and not Javi.
Hmm.
But I'm excited to see, what the field, their new stadium is like, how it plays. Supposedly it's a lot wider of a field than their old Buckshaw Stadium was. So um, I guess we could expect to have Sabo back starting, right?
Yeah, we'll probably. I mean, I just saw a tweet from Ramondo saying that he's home. So, guys, from the sounds of it, are already home or getting home from international duty.
So do you expect our forwards to start out being Garcia, Sabo, Allen, or how do you think Cassar will set the forwards up?
If it was up to me, the only the only thing I change is if I want to play Luke, maybe I'd give Gil a shot up top and see what he can do. Maybe let him, be up there in the 4-3-3 as a striker, but make him like a more of a playmaking striker, a guy
Yeah.
who can get the ball and mess around with it a little bit, setting up the offense. And so I hope they give Allen the start, only because I don't think production-wise they're not the same, but the style of play they do, Sandoval and Sabo are like clones of each other.
Yeah, and I know they tried it before one time to have Sandoval come in as the winger. I mean, that might be good for a late game scenario. I don't know if you want to play a whole game that way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of too bad. Jordan Allen was saying that him and Sandoval have pretty good chemistry since they're always playing on the same team together in practice.
Hmm.
So, if Allen's going to get the start, it'd be nice to play with Sandoval, but I just don't think it'll work.
Yeah. So,
But
I mean, maybe Allen's what Garcia was a few years ago, where he's that 80th minute speed sub. I mean, I'm not saying he's got speed like him, but that 80th minute guy that you put in that's fresh and teams really don't want to mess with.
yeah, could be. Could
So,
be.
I mean,
The
he's already shown his worth.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we need a larger sample size for Allen because he's only played in a couple games, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Every
and
game this year.
but all substitute appearances, I don't even know if you counted all this time for last year and this year. I don't even know if it would add up to a whole game yet.
Let's take a look.
How many
I
minutes
know
he's
where to
played.
find that.
So, I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I mean, it does seem like he, I don't know, the way he plays seems like it would be more conducive to progressing and playing within RSL system than Garcia's play has been.
Yep. Yeah, and between last year, I mean, he only got 9 minutes last year because of freak injury.
Right?
But between the last year and this year, he's sitting at 58 minutes.
No.
But he's got 2 shots and 1 goal, so he can find the back of the net.
Well, I mean, the two shots are both headers, one in the Philly game, one in this last game. So.
Yeah, still 50%, right?
Sample size, sample size.
All right.
Otherwise, I think our team's probably going to be similar to what we would expect. I don't think Kassar's going to do anything crazy. Let's hope that we can start figuring out this 4-3-3 so we can kind of hold on to the ball and dictate the game a little bit more like we're used to. Even if the other team has the ball, sometimes I feel like what we've been playing, we're not as kind of confident defensively as maybe we should be.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope it kind of clicks in here one of these next couple games.
Yeah. And I know somebody I'd love to see. I mean, he's not really getting a whole lot of minutes, but a guy that San Jose has that I'd love to see us play against is Kari Stevenson. Only because I used to love him on Real when he used to take those midfield shots and keepers would have to get in front of him because the dude's got a leg. I miss Kari Stevenson for stuff like that.
Oh man. I wonder if he ever just gets in front of a free kick and just crushes it into the wall just because it's funny.
I remember one time we were playing in, can't remember if it was Open Cup or CONCACAF, and he was starting, he was playing, and there was a PK, and I remember just sitting there going, "Please let Stevens take it. He'll kill a goalkeeper."
Kari.
So.
Oh well, what do you do?
You got a prediction on them?
Oh yeah. Sure. Let's do a prediction. Let's see. So they got Dom Kinnear, Houston's old coach. I haven't really watched. I mean, I've watched a little bit of their games so far this year, but not enough to really get a feel for if Kinnear's changed much from how they've played in the past. But based on the fact that most of their players are the same, I'm gonna go. Let's say 2-1. Good guys.
I say scoreless draw.
Ooh, scoreless draw.
Yeah, only because, well, I'm doubting it because I haven't heard a whole lot about their goalkeeper. I don't know. Their defense is tough, but their defense, like you said earlier, they're just an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, what is their they've scored 6 goals and given up what was it? Sorry. 6. They've given up 6, they've scored 6. So their defense isn't that stellar. I mean, we've given up 5, or no, we've given up 4, but they've had their struggles. Their goalie's new, or a new starter, I guess. They got rid of John Bush.
Yep, their goalkeeper before this year, he started all 4 games for him. Before this year, he has played 5 games combined in 4 years.
Wow.
This might be a game that you just release him, let him go attack that goalkeeper.
Yeah, put some shots on him, see what he does.
Yeah, just play.
All right, well, covered San Jose. What else do you want to talk about? Anything else?
Uh, Not that I can think of. Though I did find something that'd be cool, and I want to see if you can actually get it. So, it came out about a week and a half ago, a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Real Salt Lake's 3 designated players?
Oh, the 3 designated players. I did remember reading that they had changed that.
Hmm.
So you got Beckerman as a designated player, you got Plata as a designated player, and Jaime, I think.
That's all 3.
Boom.
That
So,
was one of those. I didn't even Beckerman was one.
yeah, I guess they
I
bought down Javi and Sabo's deals with allocation or something, so they're not DPs anymore.
Yeah, which everybody hated on us for going to get an allocation money, and now we paying for guys that should be DPs.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So
our whole DP thing is pretty silly because, we have 3 DPs, but they're making, you know, at the DP threshold pretty much. And then you
hmm
got other teams with 3 DPs that, one of those guys makes more than the whole salary cap. So,
yep. Looking at like Seattle with Dempsey
hmm
or Toronto with Giovinco.
Yep,
I mean, somebody wants to write a check, I'll be a DP.
that's right. I think I'd have to write them a check for me to play.
I don't know. If they gave me vets minimum, I'd even come in at rookie minimum. I'd play.
I
I
mean, I
wouldn't play like
want
I wouldn't play like a Kansas City only because I'd get knocked out.
to.
So
I could be the enforcer off the bench.
nice.
You need a slide tackle from behind. I'm your guy.
Yes.
Uh,
You'll go get that red card.
yeah, that's no problem. I'm okay getting suspended a few games.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
well,
good on Beckerman.
yeah, that's awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Oh yeah, real quick, we did have one listener question. Uh, our friend at Devil Badger UT asked us if we were any kind of cookie, what would we be? What would you be?
There's obviously only one real question to that. I mean, one real answer. I'd be a Girl Scout Samoa cookie.
Is that so everyone could have Samoa of you?
I mean, my wife, anytime we see Girl Scout cookies, she's like, go buy this one or this one, and yep, go find myself some Samoas. And I don't even know what her favorite kind is. I just come back with Samoas.
Oh man, on Girl Scout side, I'm more of a tag-along person myself, but oh, I just got my computer's about to hibernate error. That means we got to be done.
Yeah, let's shut her down then before your
Uh,
computer shuts us down.
all right, well, I'm Rich,
I'm Brett.
and I appreciate you guys for listening. And leave us any comments you can or you have for us. I'm at frisbee_rich.
I'm at A24 Brett or touchline_TBS.
Okay. Enjoy. Have fun watching the game on Sunday.